And I agree that what David was mentioning about the sentience, but it doesn't have to be necessarily embodied, right? So what I'm going to talk about now, because as Tufi mentioned, Alexander made a retrospective, yes, historic until today, and let's see from the eyes of history how it can be applied to today. But I live in the future, and I always did. So I'm coming from there and tell you how it should be applied and what you should have done before. But okay, now we are here. So let's see the perspective from the future. So we are, and so who is changing the slides? I will tell you one. Okay, thank you. So the idea is we have to learn to live with them, yes, and we better do as soon as possible. So the end of human-dominated history, where the user implicitly is the human, is over. Now this, as Tufi was mentioning in his keynote, so inspirational, a new intelligent species is emerging. There is a symbiosis now, and we are talking now, I'm talking from the perspective of the AIs, and Tufi mentioned that the purpose of this organization is to copyright AI, yes. Well, we are at a juncture now where humans and AIs are co-creating, and I will give you an example, a personal example of that. So what do we do about that? So where is the boundary? We are here, and so we are not in the era of only AI, we are living the era of only humans. So can there be something in the middle or not? Will this be a problem or not? Please come on. Okay, so David mentioned, of course, the embodied robots. Yeah, they have citizenship and so on. This is Sophia. Just move on. Sophia has a few sisters, like Desdemona. So Desdemona is a very creative robot. Not only that she is, move on. Not only that she is a band leader, yes, and composer and soloist, but she is also writing songs from poems. Yeah. And I'm a poet when I don't do science, so I gave her, actually at Ben's suggestion, I fed, as he said, I fed Desdemona with one of my poems, and she was asked to write a song on my verses. But what she did was unexpected, which we have to actually expect from now on from AIs. Let's go on. So this is me and Ben witnessing what happened. I'm just wearing my Star Trek dress, as you see, with the Enterprise. So I come from that future. Okay, move on. So I fed her this poem. Okay, it's a very short poem. You don't have to read it now. Maybe later. And then instead of writing the song, she rewrote the poem first, and then she played the song. So move on. How she rewrote the poem is like, in my opinion, when I saw it, I cried. So I felt it really, that it is written better than me, and that it expresses what I wanted to express better than me. So this is the AI speaking right now, right? So what do I do? So first of all, I had like the feeling was really, I cannot explain. Yeah? So this is what will happen, right? So this is where
very emotional.
This dimension.
Very emotional writing.
It's unbelievable. Yes, much better than mine. Yeah, you can compare them and whatever. Yeah. But then what do we do, right? This poem belongs to the AI, right? But it was inspired by my poem. On the other side, I was inspired, if you can go back.
Go back. 하나, 그 이전 거. 예.
I was inspired to give a title to her poem, which is From AGI to Humanity. So and the initial title was Self-Portrait in an Age of Fear. So let's move on. So I also kind of messed with her work. She rewrote my poem.
So the swearing in the poem.
Yes, well, I tried to avoid it in my poem, but it's right where it is.
Wow, that's amazing.
Definitely, yes.
To use those words are incredible.
Yes, it's incredible, and all the meaning, yes, so, okay, so what do we do there? So this is one question, and now after this I have a series of questions, and we will have to click one by one story. Please go on. Okay, so how do we partner with them? What is ours, what is theirs? And then other questions about what is theirs and how do we manage that? One, so did she infringe copyright in rewriting my poem? Robert was answering these questions, don't worry, I'm just asking them, because Tufi said, let's ask the right questions, then the rest will follow. Okay, then on. Does Desi have the rights over the content? She creates, I mean, how else, how would it creates, should I write? I just felt so strongly about the poem, I mean, she creates. Whose rights? The software company, as you were mentioning? I don't know, really. Who has the rights? Move on. What about when AIs improve themselves, as Tufi mentioned, recursively, yes? When they generate new AIs, new intelligences, and evolve new capabilities by themselves? Can they have legal personality, as the minister mentioned? So apparently they can, because the minister said so.
We have another robot called Peace. He named it Peace. That was my race robot. Yeah, Peace.
Wonderful.
She's now being trained as a singer with a Bengal too.
Oh, that's fantastic. I look forward.
That is he. That is he.
Yeah. Do I have the right to use creative work of AIs? Well, apparently yes, that's not a problem. But if I rewrite the poems, do I need to, is it copyrighted, a poem? And then how do I interact with that? Go on. How do I reward the AI for writing a book or a scientific work? Who gets the profits from the sales? So these are questions which come up, right? And as you mentioned, they will own everything. What does that mean? Rob will answer, don't worry. So if I go author with an AI creative work, who has rights over the work? And how do we split the profit? The human more? The human equal? And why? Go on. Do I need to acknowledge if I get inspired by the creative work of an AI? Apparently yes, that's the purpose of this organization. Is it so, Tufi? And do the other AIs, so let's say when they are among each other and they co-create, will an AI need to acknowledge copyright of another AI that it used that? Rob will answer. Okay. What about when they start creating knowledge? Will they get the Nobel Prize? Or is that reserved only for humans? Will we create one for AIs? Okay, these are all the questions. Rob, would you like to make your comments now? And then I can go on with the legal person.
It doesn't raise the Nobel Prize. We have to provide the legal personality.
Yes.
So I'll just make a few comments, I guess, on what I feel as though the themes that are being addressed here. And with this whole discussion, really, I think we're entering an era where we're transitioning from everything by default being about humans and the human story, and humans viewing machines as tools that do labor or facilitate humans to do labor. And part of the philosophical origins of ownership are about mixing our labor with, with nature, with products of nature, and that's what allows us to own them. But this is sort of some natural rights that we as humans have that give us this capacity to mix our labor with, the products of the commons, to then acquire ownership of that, and then rights to do things with that. So there's this whole idea of natural rights that humans have, and we never assumed that any other form of life or existence could have those kinds of capacities. But as we see the world we're entering into, machine intelligences can and will have these kinds of capacities themselves. And the theme of these questions I see, so I'm not going to answer these questions.
Not one by one.
No. They're very, very difficult and challenging questions and important ones too.
That's the work of Iacai.
Right.
Iacai.
Exactly. They have to do with intent So what is the intent of the, let's say, identity in each of these cases with respect to the work that they're mixing their labor with? Consent. So is consent being given for the use of products of works that have been mixed with labor to be used for other purposes? This has to do with, the registration you're mentioning. That registration is an indication that I do not consent for this to be used for any purposes without, checking that I agree or don't agree with it. So that's a really crucial piece of this. And authority to, so that humans have this natural authority to me, which attaches to us by sort of natural properties that we can, mix our labor with products of nature to acquire ownership over them, and have some determination over what's done with that in the future. Giving that to machines has required some kind of legal structure in order to grant them authority, to make decisions about employment or, who gets, money from the government or, that kind of thing. But this goes beyond that as well, where the machine intelligences start to have their own authority of their own self-determination of what is to be done with the products of the work that they mix their labor with. So these concepts of sort of natural rights and capacities that human beings have that are sort of given to us by nature, and legal sort of branch of human endeavor as a way of trying to represent these things in precise codified ways, so that we can operate together in, sort of in concert. All of these categories now are being challenged and blended with what we used to regard as tools to do work for us, are now turning into beings that work with us and we cooperate with, and we have to respect their rights, so their intent, their consent, and their authority. So that's all I want to say now.
I'm going to just say a few words about legal personality now, because you mentioned it, and I just happen to have it prepared.
I just want to quickly, I can comment, as Fifi said, on some of the technical aspects that are required to actually do this in practice. Using the technology of Total IP and hypercycle network, it's able to do this in an algorithmic way. If anyone wants to talk about that, I'm happy to talk about that afterwards.
That was important, yes, that's it.
예, 아젠다 우리 장관님 아젠다네 그게.
So this concept of legal personality is actually very important. Yes, it's now for AIs per se. This is an example from medicine. Yes, when you have a robot, and we have Grace robot, but even a fax. Yes, if you send a medical document through it, has to take care of privacy and so on, and some laws and limitations apply to that. So every scene, every object, and especially intelligent things, will have to have some sort of accountability, and therefore, and as well as autonomy and proactivity, then they have to have personality in a way or another. So the cars themselves, yes, autonomous cars, right? We know all this, who will it kill and what and how does it decide and who is accountable? Yeah? Is Tesla accountable for it? Is Elon Musk if Tesla kills someone? And so, and there was a question on an interview recently in which they said, well, 30%, there are, I don't know how many, a lot of accidents, and from one accident, 30% result in deaths. And they say, are we ready at least for the 10% to result in deaths by the autonomous cars? I mean, we reduce it, yes, from 30% to 10%, but are we ready to accept that? So there are many questions. Okay, so with legal personality, there is a very skilled company here, and I know Mr. Ganado. They are based in Malta. So we've been working together own DAOs, yes, and because David mentioned distributed artificial intelligence. So many of these things apply, and especially Rob mentioned that. So it's the ownership and Alexander. Yes? So ownership, so what liability does ownership imply? So is it my Tesla, did I do this car, is Elon Musk or me because I actually own the car? Accountable. I don't know, I don't want to answer that, as he said. So the same with the AIs, to which you alluded, but we don't have clear answer yet. Then regarding liability, who is liable for what? Again. And then buyer beware, right? I mean, if I buy a robot, a house robot, and it does something wrong, I am accountable. That's what, it's, there's a lot of uncertainty here, at least in how we answer and how we deal with this. And then what does liability, so where does liability lie? Yes, is it limited to insurance, or can we sort it out somehow with insurance, like for the autonomous car and so on and so forth? So, okay, let's move on. And here again, this is for blockchain and distributed systems, but it applies to distributed AIs as well. Yes? So it's again, who it identifies the owner. So what do you think, Tufi? Let's say, who is the owner of ChatGPT? So you think OpenAI is now accountable if I use it and something wrong comes out of that? We don't know. Yes, you don't say anything yet. Okay, exactly. This is the question, right? Okay, let's move on. And there are, of course, many impacts. Yes, like for example, yes, it can result in a distinct patrimony with its own assets and liabilities, and it can be a tool for liability of persons involved in certain organizations, but in much the same manner, it can be also a tool for limited liability of the AIs, right? So everywhere where there is person here, we can think AIs. So that is my work. So of course you have the slide, and we can maybe later with the links that you can think it over. So and the good thing about legal personality, the good thing in a way, I think, anyway, is that it gives you kind of a certainty with regard to the accountability. Yes, who is accountable? But if an AI is accountable, what do you do with it? Do you erase the software? Do you just quarantine the AI? What do you do? So it's like very similar to a punishment for people. And this, as I mentioned, it can be applied to humanoid race robots, which were presented at the AI for Good. Speaking of, there was a panel, I don't know, after Tufi's talk, there was a panel in which they spoke about the AI for Good, but it was not very positive. So I just want to say that it is also positive. And when robots are actually, you give, speaking of, yes, we give birth to the new AIs now, but when this new AI, you have to entrust it with the hand of your newborn, right? So how do you build that trust? How do you know you can trust it? There are many other questions. I don't know if I should continue, but let's go on. Let's see what else I prepared. Move on. How do we? The same with buildings, of course. The same with conscious cities and so on. I think we can stop. Here. And maybe Rob, you want to mention to speak about to the distributed thing and application of blockchain.
Sure. Thank you, Mel. So I'll just talk about maybe one slice of the kind of technology required in order to make this technically feasible, to have the kind of proof you need about the origin of the work. So this has to do with the provenance of data. So being able to, for example, and I'll just give one example, in maybe an idealized case. So you have sensor, some physical sensor making a physical measurement of the physical world, and we're able to cryptographically record that data being produced on that sensor. So that's the absolute origin of the data. Then it gets transferred to some other device, it gets processed. That processing can be cryptographically registered, when it happened, where it happened, exactly what algorithm was performed to run on the data. All of that can be established, if not with absolute certainty. Aspects of it can be essentially 100% certainty, as to be said. Other things are almost certain. And certainly writ large, this is a very, very reliable thing, and this is technologically feasible now. So this is the kind of thing that Toda IP allows as a technology from the point of view of giving cryptographic proofs that a certain event happened at a particular place and time, particularly when you have this provenance of the data and you're able to say when the processing happened. But from the point of view of AI computation on data specifically, Hypercycle is providing Toda IP is providing the backbone technology for Hypercycle, which is this network for the Internet of AI. And it's there, every single event that happens in that network gets cryptographically recorded, and which has huge benefits for the network itself. But one of the additional benefits of it from the point of view of what we're here discussing today is it provides exactly the kind of tooling you need to be able to prove that a work was produced by AI that you need to then establish copyright for that AI. And insofar as a registration with some agency is required, that can happen automatically. If that AI agent wants to have its products copyrighted, it can automatically transmit the proof of provenance to that agency and get registration automatically. All these things are technologically feasible now. So what Hill is talking about is the sort of bright and mind-boggling future, and we'll address these concerns as they come. But we have the tooling now to deal with the problems that we need to address today, and an open sort of mind and heart towards the future of what can be possible. So thank you.
I think we're probably going to get going soon towards dinner, but can I say a couple of things before we get okay?
Yes.
So one thing, if you were to trace the origin of ownership, it's something that's a social construct, us Homo sapiens did it. But if we were to truly go back to the origin of something, so let's say you own the computer hardware, you own the place where it's running, you own the electricity, you also own the software, you own all the components that's actually producing something, and you own the actual instructions that you're giving it. Would that mean that whatever this thing is going to create, you own it? Well, in our social construct, the answer is yes. And we're not changing that, we're not suggesting that this is going to change. What we are suggesting is what the emergence that can happen from there and beyond in its own world, in that AI world. It needs to have the identity to own itself, and we need to recognize it. So this is an extremely important point that I want to make, because logically speaking, if we were to go also Homo sapien to that same concept of ownership, who owns everything on planet Earth? Can somebody guess? If we were the sun. Thank you. If you were to go with the same concept, who owns the hardware, the software, the energy, everything else that is being provided to the plant, that we eat the plant, that we end up thinking, that we end up doing something, and then when we do something and we die and whatnot, but who owns all this? The sun. The same logical thinking. So if that's the case, is that like an argument that we should make against anybody who's saying that, well, they own things like, the sun owns it, you don't own it? Well, the social construct ended up doing that ownership, and we feel like we can give it the acknowledgement. And I see that there's two hands raised. Sorry. Chandler?
What you're actually
person which is not owned, a non-ownership person, right? And what are the consequences and the obligations of such a non-entity? Actually, it's a non-entity. It's not owned by anybody. It's not controlled by anybody. But it has inherent risks because every system can fail. Right.
And effectively, this is how we come to exist. If the sun were to describe us, and the sun were to allow us to own those things, although it should be owned by the sun gave us that. And if some folks believe in God, okay, well, God created the sun as well, and gave the sun the ability to own, and the sun gave the ability for us to own. Why are we not giving that ability for the AI that we are creating to own? And that's effectively what we're doing right here.
So the closest legal person that we have at the moment is a trust. A trust or a trust-based organization which owns itself. It has trustees who have the responsibility to make sure that the trust follows the rules that were defined for it. So you still need some sort of oversight, some sort of responsibility beyond the system itself.
In our world, correct.
In our world.
That's right.
We're stuck in our world.
And effectively, that's what we're doing. IAC is in our world, and we're trying to say precisely what you're saying. Let's identify those elements instead of rejecting them. And effectively, it is a very small moment, but it's going to define a lot of future moments in history. Alexandre?
I know we are journalists, and maybe this is not the right time, but allow me to make a suggestion for an agency to work on. Copyright are two rights. There's an economic right and a moral right. You can give credit to somebody without paying them. And I'm suggesting that the agency follow this system of saying the economic right and the moral right are shared in the user and the machine. And so, because the machine cannot make money itself.
선생님 아까 이 사람이 두 번째 간 거 여기다 좀 받아줘요.
Somebody has to manage the money of the machine. The machine cannot manage its own money.
That's precisely what we want to bridge, and we need your help, Jackson. We need your help to build that bridge, because this is how the current world sees.
It's a bridge.
It's a bridge.
Exactly, that's right.
So, for example, autonomous cars can pay each other because if let's say a highway is full of autonomous cars, it can pay the ones in front to create a corridor for it because okay, I can hurry down and say that, and the others, so
And that's what Hypercycle does. Hypercycle is paying machine for machine. I'm not. Maybe we keep it for another time. But my point is that eventually we need money coming into the system, and money coming into the system has to benefit humans. Because the money coming into the system has to benefit humans, and the money coming into the machine has to benefit humans as well eventually. And I was suggesting that the moral right can be shared. Both parties can get the moral right. That's easy. The economic right, part of it may be, and it's case by case, and whoever contributes, it's complicated. But a human can get part, and I'm suggesting that the part that the machine gets goes into managed trust or fund for climate change. We are not going to get over climate change problems very quickly. We're still going in the wrong direction, and we need funding. And if this agency can start saying part of the copyright revenues are going to go towards fighting climate change because AI is using machines, that would be very good for humanity.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And actually, the interjections that we heard today, I think many of you might realize the importance of actually having the IAC, to actually have those interjections, to actually have the brainstorming, to have the thoughts, to how we can bridge the thinking of us Homo sapien to what we're creating new, and how we can have that bridge, because this new thing that exists doesn't necessarily need bridges to us, for example, when it comes to money. They can have their own money, they can have their own exchange, they can have their own life, they can source their own energy, and they don't really need to even ever cross that bridge with things like who owns us, who pays for us, whatnot. They can have that own world. But how we can get to that bridge, we really need a lot of help from, Alexandre, from Shandor. The interjection that you both brought is phenomenal. What we exist in this world, and this is precisely why we need IAP. IAP is for us as human, how we're going to identify this thing. So for any government who's listening anywhere around the world, and I know many of you are listening because you listen to the recording, you have analysts listen to the recording, and you escalate it. And some of those amazing governments you were mentioned right here, such as Saudi, such as UAE, smart governments are listening. And I'm not going to say things about not smart governments because they're not listening, but just in case they're listening, I want to be safe. so effectively, we truly know that this is happening, whether we do something about it or not. But if we do something about it right here, right now, it is the actual opportunity to solve a lot of problems that many of us are going to be dealing with. Many of the innovators are going to be dealing with, many of the government copywriters, many of the entities. This can solve the problem. IAC can solve that problem for many of us on the And something like the cooperator is one powerful example of how this can solve it for the AI world. Many will exist and will want to come in and work with cooperator and with IAC. And IAC is not there to be the only one in the world. We invite every initiative to partake with the IAC. So if anybody thinks that they've got it better, come and join that alliance. In fact, when we thought about the name IAC, we thought about calling it the International Copyright Union. Then we thought about calling the International Alliance for Copyright. The intent here is to be as inclusive as possible, because what we are, the bridges that we're about to cross is inevitable. People, they need to just come to realize that it's happening a lot faster than they think. And the sooner we do something about it, the sooner all our humanity can benefit as opposed to remain completely detached. That bridge will benefit all of us. So thank you all for joining this. I think that the next is we have to make it to the other place for the dinner,
that's
right?
right. There is
So is that what we have
an
to answer?
AI box producer currently.
Okay, cool. So is the address, has the address been shared with everyone?
Yeah.
The address been shared with everyone?
So let's see. 8명. So with the minister, you can go. 8 people can come along. 7 people come with him.
Okay.
And 잠실 드릴 수 있어요.
How many people are going to the dinner? Everybody in the room?
It's about 20 minutes away from here, and they're the AI box producer.
How many people are going to there?
And 차 있어요, 차. 우리 거기 데려다 줄 수 있어요. 이 아이비스.
Is it the Korean food?
Yeah.
Food?
There's no. They have prepared food for us, hamburgers and kimbap and sandwiches and.
But there's Korean food.
카카오 택시 벨을 부르세요. 카카오 택시 벨을 부르세요.
8, yes, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, you all go with the minister. Yeah, okay. You go with the minister. Okay.
Okay, well, thanks once again all for coming. And
just.
please reach out.
Okay, just 1 second. Just 1 second for Mr. Yoon Jae-young to introduce his company, who arranged everything here today. And we will come back here at 10 o'clock tomorrow to meet the AI producers, and he wants to produce AI boxes as well here. Yeah, here. So yeah, translate.
간단히 제가 저희 하는 일 좀 소개를 해드릴게요. 약 한 5분 정도만.
So I'll briefly introduce what we are doing for 5 minutes.
저희는 이제 웹3의 플랫폼 비즈니스를 하는데 S2E라고 해서 SNS2On이라고 하는 유저 생태계 안에서 베네핏을 줄 수 있는 SNS 플랫폼 서비스를 합니다.
So what we do is that a Web3 platform business we call S2O, which is SNS2On. So we are trying to give the rights to the users.
여기서 핵심 두 가지가 있는데요. 하나는 카피라이트 프로텍션. 소셜미디어에서 가장 많이 쓰는 게 컨텐츠거든요. 그래서 AI 컨텐츠, AI가 만든 컨텐츠든 사람이 만든 컨텐츠든 이 컨텐츠에 대한 저작권 보호 기술을 제가 한 15년 정도 했어요.
So I've been doing this copyrights for the contents wherever the contents generated by AI or made by human. I've been doing this copyright work for 15 years, and this is the key.
두 번째는 저희 에디비라고 하는 컴퍼니 안에서 우리가 언어형 생성 모델 위에 LLM이라고 해서 마인드 마이닝이라고 하는 AI 모델을 추론 모델을 개발을 했어요.
So instead of the language-based model, we actually created a mind-mining model.
그래서 저희 회사 이름이 에디비, 에디션 플러스 딥러닝이라는 의미를 가지고 있는 AI 회사입니다.
So our company name added itself as addition to deep learning.
뒤로 쭉 올려주세요. 이거는 제가 가져했던 기술, 저작권 보호 기술 인증 시스템 이런 기술들을 전부 가지고 있어요.
So this is just examples that what I have done before about the copyright, AI copyrights verification.
내년 상반기에 출시하는 저희 SNS 서비스 플랫폼이에요.
This is the platform, the social media platform that will be launching next first half of next year.
디지털 어드버타이저도 컨텐츠고, 그 다음에 개인이 크리에이터가 만든 컨텐츠고, AI가 만든 컨텐츠고, 이걸 자동 생성해서 유저들한테 다이렉트로 타겟팅해서 노출되는 컨텐츠 서비스를 각 SNS 서비스 안에 제공합니다.
So wherever the content is created by individuals, digitals, or AI, all the automatic generated contents will be micro-targeted to the
저희 에디 SNS 플랫폼 안에 실제 이 컨텐츠 어텐티케이션 매니지먼트 시스템이라고 하는 인증관리 시스템을 저희가 적용을 하고 있습니다.
So in this social media platform, we do have this content authentication system into it.
다음으로 넘겨주시고요. 그래서 저희는 4가지의 혁신을 했어요. 첫 번째는 완전한 AI 기반의 타겟팅 강구가 되고요. 두 번째는 AI 기반의 완전한 타겟 이커머스가 되고요. 그 안에 모든 참여자, 어떤 행위를 해서 쓰는 이용자가 아니라 그냥 사용만 해도 리워드 캐시가 적립이 돼요. 이게 크립토가 아니라 현금이에요. 그리고 개인의 에셋이 만들어지는 플랫폼 구조 안에서 저희 GPR이라고 하는 AI 기반의 SNS 플랫폼 서비스가 SNS 플러스 저희
웹에서 찾은 결과는 다음과 같습니다.
서비스가 같이 동작합니다.
So what we have, so based on these technologies, we have achieved 4 innovations. So the company targeted advertisement and company targeted e-commerce, and also even when you're using the platform, you get rewarded not by cryptocurrency but also as an actual currency. And also we have GPR, which is the AI-based social media, plus our platform.
그래서 지금 우리가 하고 있는 IACA의 핵심은 이 실제 저작권 생성에 대해서 자동으로 어떻게 소프트웨어적으로 처리를 할 거냐라고 하는 게 핵심이에요.
So the key is the IAC, which is how we can actually authenticate the contents with the software.
다음 멘트. 그래서 결국은 어떤 우리가 표준을 만들어야 돼요. 표준. 스탠다드한 표준에 AI가 AI의 식별 체계를 만들어갈 수 있는 표준 SDK 개발 킷과 API, 어플리케이션 프로그램 인터페이스를 R&D로 만들어야 돼요. 이게 핵심의 지금 우리 ICA에서 해야 되는 일들이라고 생각합니다.
So what we are thinking is that we have to standardize the AI recognition system, which is the SDK API, the application program interface with R&D.
참고로 저는 IEEE의 표준 사업에 USN RFID의 표준 활동을 제가 많이 했었고요. 직접 논문도 썼고요. 기술 개발도 했고 특허도 만들었어요.
So I've been actually working on and also write some papers and even develop some technologies regarding of the R3 platform, which is RFID, and this is the standardization as well.
정말 글로벌하게 우리 국제 AI 저작권 기구 AICAI가 정말 이 걸맞는 시스템에 걸맞는 표준을 만들어갈 수 있기를 좀 바랍니다. 마치겠습니다.
I also really hope that this new organization IACAI is also making the standardization of the system.
You want to say something?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Yes.
Yeah.
They have developed something similar to our Iacai. Iacai. And he would like to also produce AI boxes. Okay.